Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? My name is Denanu, and I'm the man with black privilege. And we're going to be talking about the new Avengers trailer that just dropped this morning. And I'm just going to give my thoughts and opinions on it, where I think the story is going to go in Endgame, and honestly, I think a lot of people on the internet are just plain wrong. I guess the hype train is definitely in full effect with Endgame here. And tons of people are exploiting their thoughts and ideas and nitpicks and flat out wrong guesses with what's going to be in the story and everything, just to explain views and stuff. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to talk and, pretty much just explain where I think the story's going to go. Honestly, it's one of those things where I think a lot of people are thinking about it too hard. People even got theories that, like, oh, Tony Stark's gonna make a new Infinity Gauntlet with Shuri's help, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, there's no way Tony Stark, Iron Man, like, he's my favorite superhero character. I love him to death, but he's not making no copy of no Infinity Stones. He's not making no copy of the Infinity Gauntlet, so they can rework everything. It's just not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Honestly, because I've been thinking about it too, right? I'm like, okay, well, they gotta fix it some kind of way. That's the easiest way to go about doing it. Go back in time, get the Infinity Stones before Thanos does, change everything back. Honestly, I don't think it's gonna go down that way. After watching this trailer and the little Super Bowl teaser and everything like that, one of the biggest things that I've been getting with this trailer is just, it's like the sense of loss. And they're gonna do what they gotta do, whatever it takes. At the end of the day, like that's the thing that they wanted to get across. And honestly, I think everybody probably means that they're gonna go back and change it back by whatever it means. I don't think it's that complicated. I think they're just gonna go back in time to kill Thanos. Honestly, because the trailer's talking about starting over and stuff like that. So I don't think that they're gonna change everything back and then wipe everybody's memory to think, make everybody forget it. No, I don't think it's gonna be that complicated. They're gonna go back in time, kill Thanos during the events of Avengers 1 or after Avengers 1, something like that, and that's gonna wipe away their current timeline and replace it with something different. They're gonna try to pull a X-Men Days of the Future Past, essentially, like Marvel did in the comic books with the X-Men. Except with that, in Marvel comic books, most of the time it creates a divergent timeline, so it's like you have a parallel timeline running in addition to the new one that you set up. I think they're gonna go the typical time travel route, where it's like, once you change that, if they kill Thanos, no more Infinity Gauntlet. It's gonna change everything that happened after that point. And that's what I think is going to happen. Honestly, I think they're going to go back in time. They're going to kill him, or try to kill him. Do something. Destroy the Infinity Gauntlet. They're going to do something during the events around Avengers 1 that's going to basically invalidate everything that came after that. Because that would give them a clean slate, going forward with newer Avengers movies and stuff like that. Since Captain America and Iron Man, their contracts are pretty much up. I doubt they're going to probably renew it. More, let's say, Captain America or more Steve Evans than Robert Downey Jr. But it's one of those things where it's like, he's been talking about leaving too, and it could be one of those things where it's like they both just decide to leave the franchise. This would be the perfect time to do that and stay and leave at the top of your game. That's what I think it's gonna probably happen, and they have to kind of either kill those characters or write them out of the future movies, which they can do, and then let's say 5 or 6, 10 years later, bring them back in as different actors. Honestly, this would allow them to make changes going forward, but also still change things up at the same time. So if they, let's say, get rid of Thanos, everything changes. By how they get rid of him, they can have something. I know they had a story arc in the comic books where the Infinity Gems get not necessarily destroyed, because you can't really destroy them, but they got separated. I think this is recent, like in the past few years. and the time stone just like disappeared and nobody knew where it went, and it kind of just vanished in time. They can do something similar where it's like whatever means that however they defeat Thanos at the end, that somehow, let's say, shatters the time stone. So they can always say, okay, a big chunk of it is still around, but the other pieces scattered through time, and that can just make changes throughout the timeline. So now you can change up actors and stuff like that and have a story reason for doing it. You know, you can make the next phase of movies and nobody remembers what happened. You know, like even the Avengers probably don't remember because it's going to change everything going past that point. So you can just basically, if the time stone shatters and let's say goes throughout time, you could be like, oh, the timeline got altered throughout history. So now you can introduce X-Men, you can introduce different actors as like Tony Stark and Captain America, and it keeps your new timeline that you've established since Endgame correct, because technically there's still those characters with new actors, you know, along with the current timeline. It's just nobody knows everything is different, you know, anything, you know, how everything used to be different. They can easily do it that way. That's the best way I could see them going about changing everything, but at the same time keeping it the same and leaving them open for the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and any other character that they want to throw in their universe going forward. It's one of those things where it's like I'm just reading everything online and it's just like I don't think it's gonna be, you know, like I said before, it's not that complicated. It's not hard to write themselves out of a corner. Because if you go with any one of those other options, it's gonna have problems. You can't bring everybody back without people remembering. If you wipe their memory, then are the Avengers gonna be the only ones that's left? How are you gonna introduce the X-Men, Wolverine, the Fantastic Four, Galactus, Silver Surfer? How are you gonna bring about all these characters? You know, it's like a writing trope that I've seen only in a few movies. Comic books usually do it the other way around. Meaning you have your established timeline, something happens, they go back in time to try to fix it, like I said before, and it either invalidates the event, or in comic books, it just creates like an alternate timeline. Usually that's how it goes. And if they kind of change the event, you know, let's say like reverse the decimation, bring everybody back, that's gonna kind of invalidate the whole thing. I guess you could say, yeah, it happened, but you're still gonna have repercussions of that. You know what I'm saying? People are gonna if somebody remembers what's gonna happen, does Thanos remember what happened? It's one of those things where it's like that could write in a bunch of plot holes that they would have to go back and fix later through retconning and stuff like that. But if you just say, oh look, it's a new timeline, nobody knows anything is different, you can do whatever you want at that point, you know, without having in-movie reasons as far as, well, why does Robert Downey Jr. look different if this is the same timeline? Or why does Captain America, you know, look like a different person? Even technically, movies can replace actors, no problem. The biggest thing about the MCU is continuity, you know, carrying over the same actors from movie to movie to movie. You can replace people, sure. They've done it with James Bond. They've done it with a few other franchises where they change up, you know, actors like that. But it's one of those things, no matter what they do, it's going to cause a lot of, not necessarily controversy, but people are going to look at it and be like, well, if he just suddenly changed actors, yeah, you can say, oh, here's this other person as Iron Man, but people are always going to say, I mean, granted, you know, they're not going to, you know, they're going to always say he ain't going to be as good, but they're going to be like, well, how come the other characters don't recognize him? But then again, they may just do it like they did Rhodey, where they replaced Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle, and they had a throwaway line where he was like, I'm here, I'm different, let's go. And he was like, okay. And they never mentioned it again. They could just do it like that. So, I mean, I just think that the biggest thing with the MCU is story, you know, characterization, story, with most of their movies. Let me say that, most of them. Definitely not all after watching Captain Marvel, but I'm gonna do another video on that this weekend. But if they just kind of take away the, you know, Thanos out of the picture, that's the tone that I'm getting. It's like everything is like they're saying like whatever it takes. So I think it's not meaning to change. I think it's still meaning like, no, we're just gonna go back and kill this fucking asshole that wiped out everybody. That's what I think is gonna happen. And it's one of those things where it's like, if we don't do this, the universe is gonna get fucked up. And they're gonna be willing to kill him. I mean, maybe they won't kill him at the end of the day. I'm assuming they'll probably get to that point at the end of the movie, and Captain America or Iron Man or somebody's gonna be like, we should kill you, but either we can't do it or we're not gonna do it. And that's when I think they're just gonna do something that invalidates the whole thing. I think, or even if let's say they do try to kill him, and let's say they succeed in thinking he's dead, like they try to kill him and they change everything back, but he didn't really die. Because that's one thing with Thanos, where like he always comes back. Technically, he's immortal in the comics, but it could be one of those things where they just try to make it seem like he's dead, but they can always bring him back later. I'm assuming they're gonna do that rather than just flat out kill him, because he's too big of a bad guy to just say, oh, let's just treat him like Ironmonger and just kill him and never do anything else with him. It's like, no, that's fucking Thanos. That's like saying, oh, let's kill off Galactus and then never talk about him again. Like, no, it's not gonna happen. Definitely not gonna happen. But anyways, guys, just been my thoughts on the whole movie and the trailer here. Like I said, nothing fancy. They didn't really show anything really new in this trailer. They showed their little white costumes that they had, and I'm assuming that's going to be related to how they time travel or something like that. I'm assuming how they're going to handle the time travel. I don't think they're just going to go back in time. Given how they showed stuff work in Ant-Man with the quantum realm and stuff like that, they have a little bit of explaining to do with how they're going to use the quantum realm. Because don't get me wrong, Scott Lang, he can use the tech, but he's not the one designing anything. He's not smart enough to use the quantum realm or to, Tony Stark his way into making time travel. That's not how it's going to work, I don't think. I don't think Captain Marvel is going to just use her powers to whip up something. That's not going to happen either. Honestly, I think it's going to be one of those things, and how I think they're going to do it, and I don't know if anybody else came up with this idea because I haven't seen anybody talk about it, is everybody keeps throwing around this barf technology that they seen in screenshots of Tony Stark and stuff like that. The kind of memory tech that he had with in Civil War when he was trying to, help us out, do his own therapy, essentially. And honestly, what I think they're going to probably do is they're going to use that, not necessarily mix it with Pym's quantum tech, to somehow time travel. Honestly, what I think is going to probably happen is they're going to I don't think they're going to jump back in time and just have like two separate Avengers teams where you have like the one team and then it's going to be the second team, and they can't let each other see each other like most movies do. That would be kind of redundant. I guess they could do that, but I just don't think that that's going to really be the case. Because you can't really control time. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in their whole roster of Avengers, whether that's Black Panther, Shuri, Tony Stark, Ant-Man, whoever, nobody knows how to control time. You can reference it, you can do that. Maybe if Doctor Strange was around, he could use magic to kind of do it, but since he's been dusted, they don't have him. So even if, let's say, the quantum realm could open up a time travel doorway or portal or something like that, how would you control when it goes? So honestly, what I think is going to happen is they're going to probably use Tony Stark's barf tech to somehow, they have to get all of the Avengers, let's say, to think about a moment or think about a memory when they were or where they were during Avengers 1, and they're going to use that barf technology to pinpoint, let's say, their mental brain waves or whatever during that exact instance. And when they go back in time, I think they're going to treat it kind of like how they did Wolverine with X-Men Days of Future Past. They won't travel back in time, but let's say like their consciousness or their minds transfer back into their older bodies, and it's going to overwrite, their current mindset that they have. So they're going to be aware, like, oh shit, it's 15 years ago. That's what I think they're going to do. And then they're going to know, they're going to have to probably the first half of the movie, they're gonna probably redo Avengers 1 and, you know, beat the Chitauri and stuff like that, and then they're gonna move into like how to take out Thanos and stuff like that. I think what they're gonna probably do, what makes the most sense, is I think they're gonna go in space and probably, if I assume, fight Thanos on his little throne chair asteroid thing. You know, they did that in the comic books a few times. Thanos isn't hard to find. You know, their biggest problem will be getting into space. That's the biggest problem that they would have. And if, let's say, Nebula jumps back, she's gonna be with Ronan, who at the time was working with Thanos and stuff like that, before the Guardians and stuff like that. So she's gonna probably jump back in her body, be out in space along with Rocket, and then they're gonna get a ship, go to Earth, probably pick up the Avengers, and then go and take out Thanos. I'm guessing that's how it's gonna play out. I don't know how they're gonna take down Thanos, but I'm assuming they're gonna want to try to take him out before he gets the gauntlet, you know, because that's when he's like his weakest. You know, I mean, he's still a beast, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, look, don't let him get this thing, because he had 2 of the stones and wrecked all of our shit. You know, so they can't get like the Infinity Gauntlet and the gems and then go back to the future and use them, because then it's like, it's kind of, you're using the same power against the same power. It's not gonna, you know, if anything, usually when that happens in the comic books, because I think I want to say that's happened a couple times with the Infinity Gauntlet, but it's one of those things where it's like, by the Infinity Gauntlet being so powerful, it can't beat itself. You know, usually whenever they do in the comic book, somebody gets it from like another dimension and then brings it over, but the Infinity Gauntlets only work in its native reality, so to speak. Darkseid tried it, I think, when they did one of the crossovers where he tried to use the Infinity Gauntlet and it didn't work because they was in the DC universe and he had it, and it just was worthless. It didn't do anything. So I think they're just gonna go back in time and probably just kill Thanos and let that be that. Then, like I said, going forward after that, everything could change. You can have new actors. They can recast, reshuffle, introduce other characters. They can do anything they want, story-wise, and then plan for the next 10 years, and then have Avengers versus X-Men, or have Galactus come down to Earth and says, oh, I'm hungry, I want to feed, and then you could bring in like the Fantastic Four and have everybody try to fight Galactus. That's a better way of doing things, in my opinion, but then again, what do I know? I could be completely wrong, just like most people online, but we're all gonna see later on next month when the movie drops. So anyways, fellas, that's just been my thoughts and opinions on the Endgame trailer and I guess the movie as a whole. And let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. My name is Denanu, and I'm the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.